Hey everyone, welcome to PunkCast. My name is William Maxwell. I'm a student of Web3 and the owner of Punk4751. CryptoPunks are 10,000 uniquely generated characters stored permanently on the Ethereum blockchain. No punk is the same. This is a show dedicated to celebrating the punks behind the punk. My hope for this podcast is that we capture the essence of the punk culture, elevate the brand and the individual behind the punk. One last thing. Projects discussed on the show is not financial advice. Crypto and NFTs are a volatile and risky asset class. Please always do your own research. Other than that, let's go. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of PunkCast. Today we've got Punk4751, a 3 Atty, female, messy hair, eye patch and cigarette. He's well versed in the cannabis industry, a graffiti artist and skateboarder. Please welcome to the show, All City. All City, how are you, mate?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on, Maxwell. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Good. Can't complain. Just chipping away, building, as we all say. Maybe we could just start with a simple question, like, what's All City about? Like, how did you come up with that alias or pseudonymous name?
Yeah, it's actually a good question. So, All City is kind of a broad term that we use in the graffiti community. So, All City's a term. So, if you're a graffiti writer, specifically say like a street bomber, so somebody that doesn't just do the fancy pieces, maybe you go out and you hit the spots in the city. So if you're up all over the place, then you're All City. So it's kind of a broad term, and
in a good way, right? So if somebody
in a good way, yeah.
Somebody says, "Oh, you're All City." That means that you're everywhere, basically, right?
You got it. Yeah, that's it.
That's cool. Well, maybe you can just kick us off by just giving us a bit of an introduction to yourself and your background and how you found yourself into the Web3 space.
Yeah. So, like a lot of people, I guess, kind of that early 2021 kind of wheelhouse. I'm still in school at the time, and I used to make these physical sketchbooks, these kind of niche, made for graffiti sketchbooks, where they're kind of like a template-based book, where not just blank pages. I had 3 books. There was like a daytime and a nighttime of these street series, and then there was like a freight book. So you'd crack open the sketchbooks, and there'd be like street scenes or freight trains that guys and girls could draw their name on. And so they were pretty successful, kind of within our niche. And I always kind of thought it'd be cool to do something digital. So these sketchbooks would come with no graffiti. The idea is so that the graffiti writer draws the graffiti in it. But I always kind of wanted to do like a digital version where I could, the homies all, everybody could get their graph on these pages in color. And yeah, in a digital kind of way. So I wasn't really sure how I would kind of execute that. And like a lot of people, again, in those early kind of 2021 days, not early for NFTs, but early for many of us, the big Beeple sale kind of sparked a lot of different eyeballs. And around that time, again, I was in school. One of my teachers had mentioned the Clubhouse app, and she had an invite. I don't know if I don't really use that app anymore, but at the time you needed an invite to get on it. So she said, you should go on here. There's a bunch of different kind of communities that are kind of growing, and it's kind of neat. There's kind of an art community, and there's a crypto community and different stuff. So I got on there, kind of discovered NFTs, and it was crazy back then. There was rooms like running all day long with people kind of talking about NFTs and different kind of little communities, kind of being born through that, and kind of started hanging around in there, and it clicked right away. So again, my interest was kind of to do something digital with these books. But once I started, I'm not crypto native. So once I started kind of learning about this kind of stuff and blockchain, it really clicked right away. It just kind of made sense, and just kind of stuck around since then. And yeah, I just love it.
Yeah. So you come from a really interesting background, man, that those script books would have been pretty cool to have a look at. Maybe you can send us a link and we can have a look through what they look like. But I'd be interested to sort of go a little bit further into your background. Like, how did you find your way into graffiti and art, like a little bit earlier on in your formative years?
Yeah, so I think I started noticing graffiti pretty young. I think I was always kind of drawn to it. I think naturally I'm kind of like an adventurer. I'm always trying to, I'm always crawling around different cities when I'm traveling. I'm really kind of turning them out. I'm going everywhere that I can. I'm just naturally kind of curious, and I started skateboarding when I was maybe 13, and just always in the city. And at that time, back in the 90s, skateboarding and graffiti really kind of went hand in hand. And skateboarding kind of really opened my eyes to just kind of really kind of being a part of Vancouver. That's where I grew up, and just kind of just that energy of just, we always skated downtown, and so graffiti just kind of really started to kind of take a grip through that. And again, just spending so much time always kind of out and about, and yeah, it just really stuck. I don't skateboard much anymore. I banged up my knees pretty good. But that's definitely where the graffiti came from, and graffiti's going to be with me for forever.
That's cool. And it's interesting. I mean, similarly with the NFTs, it's about culture, community, and how do you sort of pinpoint and describe culture? And I think coming from art, graffiti, and skateboarding has a very rich culture to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Subcultures and culture in general, as you kind of said, it's fascinating to me too, right? To kind of become a part of a niche, and particularly kind of emerging kind of niches. And it's always interesting to just kind of watch the kind of trajectory of just, how something like an underground culture kind of takes shape and evolves, and just different things kind of happen. So it's interesting. It's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And as I was sort of thinking about it too, I think in some ways, graffiti and skateboarding has a sense of counterculture, a sense of rebelliousness about it, which is, kind of a nice fit with, I guess, the NFT space as well.
Absolutely. It's different. And, I'm a pretty creative person, I think. And so I can definitely appreciate, I got a pretty open mind, and I definitely appreciate different things for, different reasons. And so, yeah, I really kind of, when I saw this kind of this community growing on with NFTs, and particularly when I was in those clubhouse rooms and stuff like that, it was just really interesting because it was so new. It was a different kind of platform to be creative, and for me it was extremely exciting because, again, I'm not crypto native, so crypto was kind of always this mysterious kind of thing that I knew about. Like many people, you always kind of had a friend who maybe got into Bitcoin or whatever years back. I don't know if I have any buddies that really did overly well with all that stuff, but certainly they were trying to explain it to me, and I got it, but I didn't get it. So kind of getting my feet wet, and learning, and seeing how you could combine creativity and artwork with blockchain and Ethereum. It was really interesting. It was pretty fascinating to me. It was kind of this intersection where art met finance, met and just all kinds of a little bit of danger or risk almost, particularly when you're coming into crypto and you don't really know it. Again, it's pretty mysterious, right? So it was it was attractive to me. I was naturally drawn to it when I started to learn about it.
You're right. I think crypto and NFTs is one of those special ones where it's super interesting because it pulls in so many disciplines, right? I think you said finance, there's art, there's marketing, there's community, there's
right.
politics, governance. There's a whole bunch of
Right.
things that just
Yeah.
pulls everything together under the one sort of banner, right? Which is super fascinating as well. And even history, right? Like, I mean, I wouldn't have gone into history without sort of NFTs and crypto.
Love it.
But anyway, so yeah, so maybe yeah, help us talk through, you know, your journey to buying your first NFT. I think, or basically, was it you creating your own first NFT through your art books? Was it way in, or did you actually mint some?
Yeah, you know, I love talking about that because the first NFT that I ever purchased is actually kind of special to me. It was kind of neat how I came about grabbing it, and it ended up just a lot of things just kind of lined up after that. So initially, what I was doing, I was started to buy Ethereum as, I mean, so it's obviously I was going to need ETH to purchase NFTs, but I'm very cautious at times. I don't know, maybe it's just kind of my background or just kind of the way I am, but it was very important to me to kind of, because all this stuff was new, to kind of learn good practice and, you know, be as secure as I could. So I spent a good month or two really before I did anything, just trying to wrap my head around security, proper security and stuff like that. I'm certainly no expert, but I am cautious. And so I'm grateful for that. I found some good resources that helped me along the way. And so again, I was buying Ethereum off of an exchange to start with before I was really doing anything, obviously. And it was kind of at that previous all-time high in 2021. I can't remember what it would have been in US dollars. In Canadian dollars, it would have been like around 4K or something like that. And it started to tank after. So I'm like, well, this is a good time to start, you know, start pulling my socks up and dive in, right? Let's start grabbing some NFTs. So I was chatting with a guy who became a good friend of mine, Cheetah Cowboy. He's a Bored Ape holder guy. He's a pretty cool dude. And I had asked him a couple questions because I wanted to start creating NFTs. And he's like, oh, I'll put you in touch with this guy, Cam. He makes these things called rare diamond hands. So I'm like, okay, dope, right? So he actually sent me an Instagram link. So I followed the link and I seen the Instagram name and I'm like, shit, that looks kind of like a graffiti name, right? And I'm not gonna say the Instagram name because it's kind of his personal handle, but it's a short Instagram name. You know, and Instagram's been around for a while, and you know, it's obviously huge, so it's not easy to get shorter handles and stuff. And I'm like, you know, this is like a graph name, and it reminds me of somebody who used to do graffiti in around Vancouver, and there was two guys way back in the day that had the same name that were, you know, kind of from the same place. One was from Victoria, which isn't too far from here, and one was from Greater Vancouver. So I'm like, you know, that'd be weird if this guy was from here. So long and short, I shoot him a message and I say, hey, Cheetah sent me over to you. I had a couple questions just about, you know, creating, you know, NFTs and different stuff like that. And I said, hey, by the way, I says, you know, I shot in the dark here. You used to do graffiti from around here? Because I knew if I told him who I was, he's going to know who I was. He says, yeah. So I tell him who I was. And he's like, oh, shit, right? So turns out he was from Vancouver. So we start chatting. His name's Cam Taylor, and just an incredible artist. Love talking about Cam. Worked at EA Sports for quite some time, years and years, before he went full-time Web3. And he was making these things called rare diamond hands. I really suggest everybody takes a look at them. They're super cool. It's a smaller collection. It's like 100 of them he made. And he was building this little community. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but through that Clubhouse app. And they're very, 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 very high effort pieces. They're super cool. And just check them out. I'm not going to try to describe them. So, yeah, we just kind of clicked. And it just felt right that I grabbed one of those. And I still hold it to this day. He did 100 of them in total. As soon as he started to get a little bit of a community, a little bit of a following built, you know, he was making them every day. He'd go work at EA Sports. He'd come back, and he would bang out a rare diamond hand, and they'd fly as soon as he put them up. And I think the last one that he did, he auctioned off, and he ended up getting like 80 ETH or something like that. And he kind of moved on from those, and he created another smaller set. I don't know how many, maybe another 100, maybe there was a few more. He did these things called, initially they were called CryptoPunks. And again, I really suggest everybody takes a look at these things. They're really, really cool. He did them with another guy, and I forget the other fellow's name, but they initially were started as a physical piece that his partner on this little project were putting together, and he was making CryptoPunks out of computer parts physically. They're really, really interesting. A friend of mine, Dom, Crypto King, he ended up with one of the bigger physical pieces. They're very, very interesting. And yeah, so you can check out those too. I think OpenSea made them change the name from CryptoPunks to Chiptos a year ago, but they're super, super high effort.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now. They are pretty cool. So it's CryptoPunks is still there.
Oh,
So
great.
it was created on. There's only three of them, right?
No,
are you
looking at the physicals? Are you looking at the physical ones?
Yeah, is there a separate one called?
See if you can look up. See if I can follow along with you here. Let me get another browser going. Let's go to OpenSea. I think they made them change the name to Chiptos, and they. Hang on one second here. Let's see if I can dig them up.
Okay, so, yeah, there's 500. There's 500 of them. Yeah, okay.
There you go. Yeah, really, really cool. So these are the digital kind of. Yeah, really, really cool.
Cool. And so there's CryptoPunks, and then I've got a look at the rare diamonds as well. It's sort of like an oscillating hand with a diamond in the air.
Yeah.
I'll put them in the show notes. They're sort of interesting. And so I guess the question for you is like what compelled you to buy? Is it just you like the art, or was it the personal connection that you made with the artist?
It was a little bit of everything. It was just kind of the perfect thing. And then the fact that he was kind of from here, and we were kind of tied together through graffiti a little bit, lots of mutual friends. And it just was like the perfect first NFT to buy. So yeah, it worked out really well. It was cool. I ended up with 3 of them. At the time, if you grabbed 3, he would do a custom one for you as well. So that's pretty cool.
Of the CryptoPunks, of the Chiptos, right?
Of the rare diamond hands. Yeah.
Got it.
There's some really cool ones, like Crypto Novo had one done with his punk and with his tassel hat and stuff. It's really, really, really cool stuff.
Oh, cool. And so what happened after then? Like this got you sort of sucked into NFTs, but was it hard for you to sort of pick up, or, I guess conceptually digital ownership property on chain as you were sort of going through, I guess, the clubhouses and interacting with these communities, not coming from, the cryptography sort of space or the crypto space in general? Did you find it an easy concept to understand?
It made sense pretty quick. And I think another huge catalyst for me was CryptoVoxels, actually. So around that same time, a friend had grabbed a parcel in Origin City there. And so again, not crypto native. I don't have any gaming background, none of that. So a buddy of mine grabs this parcel in CryptoVoxels, and he's like, "You got to check this out, right?" So I go in here, and it just blew me away, right? Like, I mean, because again, I mean, I'm not a gamer or anything like that, and I'm walking around this city, right? This virtual city, and I'm like, I got to get some graffiti up on here, right? I'm like, this is just mental. There's people walking around, and I mean, to me, it blew my mind. I don't come from a gaming background, so seeing these virtual galleries where you could take an NFT that you own and you could put it in there, you could click on it, it would take you to OpenSea, and you could build it however you wanted it. It was really interesting to me. So that kind of opened up the floodgates. I think I had 6 parcels in there at one point. We did a bunch of fun stuff. Actually, worth noting, again, I just was blown away, and I wanted to put graffiti up in there. So we did a mural festival. It was pretty cool. So I don't know if anyone else ever doing this or coming across it. So I took 9 parcels in CryptoVoxels and completely wrapped them inside and out in graffiti and street art. I think I had like 25 artists. It was a really good ratio of like crypto artists, like people doing NFTs, and also like homies of mine that did graphs. So I would just, I was getting graph from them and getting a buddy to vectorize it and just putting PNGs up. Most of it was minted at the time, not all of it, but really cool stuff. Ran Clubhouse tours for a week, and we had a couple thousand people pass through over the week. It was really, really interesting. Yeah, man, it was really cool.
Maybe just to go back a little bit, so everybody's got a bit of context. Can you just explain what crypto voxels are?
Yeah, so crypto voxels is kind of it's kind of like the OG metaverse. I mean, there's a bunch of them that are coming up right now, but crypto voxels is pretty interesting. I think it's got a pretty long history with a lot of people, and I think it's been around since 2017. Don't quote me, but pretty small team. But I love crypto voxels. I don't go in there enough anymore, but I think it's a great platform, and you can use it on your mobile, so you can just kind of check it out if you got an iPhone. I don't know if it works for Android, but yeah, man, lots of really cool stuff, and I think it's a great sort of way to introduce people to the concept of a metaverse or of the metaverse, because of the fact that it's there's thousands of parcels that are already built. I think it's fading a little bit in terms of interest. Sadly, I think I'd love to see it get rejuvenated. But lots of really cool stuff, and I think it kind of coming back to creativity and the ability to be creative and use different platforms to do that. It was very eye-opening for me because, of course, you can build out your own parcels how you want them and put up what you want and do all sorts of fun stuff. You can script different stuff. It's great, and again, very, very user friendly.
Can we still access your mural at all, or is that taken down?
I can definitely send over some stuff. I've got 3 parcels left. You know what? You can go to allcityhq.com, and that should point you back into kind of one of my main parcels. So allcityhq.com.
Cool. I'll put this in the show notes as well. So if anybody's interested, there.
There's a basketball. We were doing a little bit of work on it a while back, but if you go up on the roof, it's pretty sweet. There's a basketball court up on the roof. We scripted a bunch of me bits, so they're shooting hoops up there. It's pretty fun.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool.
Thanks.
And then so talk to me about. So this is more. You came in more from an art angle with graffiti, buying pieces of chiptos, and then how was yours transition into, I guess, the profile picture identity play? Because I know you've got some Bored Apes as well.
Yeah, I got an ape. I ended up with that through Cam, actually. So Cam Taylor, who was doing the Rare Diamond Hands, he had an ape. And so I ended up just trying to think back. So those guys all minted their apes. I saw them for a while, and I thought they were cool. And then I ended up grabbing one. I grabbed one when Pranksy was selling his. I think I got mine for like 1.25 or something like that. And picked him because I liked the heart glasses. And I liked that, they were fun, man. They had some different aesthetics to them. And I don't think that my identity really kind of started to pair with it until I started getting more active on Twitter. Because you kind of need a PFP, and I love my heart-shaped glasses.
Yeah, that was cool. And then, so that was Bored Apes your first PFP play?
I think it was, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I wasn't really chasing the PFPs. It would have definitely been, yeah.
Cool. And then, when did you sort of first hear about CryptoPunks, and I guess what led you on to the CryptoPunk collection?
Yeah, punks are dope. Obviously, we love punks, and I think I slow played them a little much at the beginning because I thought they were a little further out of reach at that time than they maybe were, and I wasn't really paying attention to the price action. And then when I kind of was like, you know what? I think the other thing was this too. I think I slow played it because I felt like I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be more versed in the space, in the tech, in the, just the culture before grabbing a punk. I didn't want to kind of be like a poser, because I think at the time I could have picked one up for maybe 15 ETH or something like that, right? And so I just kind of slow played, looking too closely at them. And then when I kind of thought, you know what, I want to grab one of these. And I was actually right in the middle of starting to list a bunch of stuff that I had, kind of piled up. So, I think I said I think you can pick up a CryptoVoxels parcel nowadays for not much, like, maybe half an ETH or something like that. But they were hot back then. I mean, they were flying, and I had a bunch of them. So I was going to list a bunch of those and just a bunch of other stuff. And, I would have been able to stack up, 20 ETH or whatever it was. And
when was this? Was this in 21?
yeah. So it was kind of before that first big, well, when the first big sweep that I saw. I want to be careful with my wording here. But as kind of a newbie coming in 2021, there was that huge sweep. Essentially what kind of happened when I started watching the price, they were just kind of right pushing up around 20, and they were starting to move, right? And every day I would look, and they were up a couple ETH, and they were moving fast. And then there was just like a huge sweep. And I think that's when like Gary V and all of those guys started really grabbing them up, because the price essentially doubled, right? It was like they were bumping up fast. There was lots of talk, lots of energy. And then I was priced out. And, yeah.
But so you had your eye on it for some time. It was interesting that you sort of said you were taking your time because you didn't want to buy it, and you want to take your time to learn about the space instead of just buying it and then just being a bit of a poser. It's almost like me with my golf equipment. I've got like the best golf gear, but I've got a really shit game, right? So
I feel you, bro. Yeah.
So that sort of analogy resonates with me as well. And then so you heard about CryptoPunks in around that time, mid 21, say. And then what was your sort of journey from then until when you bought is this your first CryptoPunk as well? I think I just saw it was about 4 months ago when you made the purchase, right?
Yeah, I had another girl 6 months ago or so. She was great. I'm just trying to recall the number of her. She was a Bino Frumpy. I just love her.
2914 is the one you were saying was your first one.
That's the number. There you go there. And it was short. She was short-lived. I picked her up, I think, and it was right during that big ApeCoin run. And I ended up flipping her, grabbed ApeCoin. It did me well, but I still miss her. And and then I just was kind of waiting around for another good entry, and picked up the punk that I have today.
Nice. And it's interesting. Is there a reason why you've purposely gone and selected females?
Well, everybody kind of knows me for my ape, and I don't have any plans to sell him. And so I like having a little bit of a balance, just his energy. I love the female punks. I love the male punks. I love all punks. Certainly, if I didn't have the ape, I would probably go for a more masculine punk, but I do. So I like having a female, yeah, that's kind of why I go for the females.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when you're going through the traits and the attributes, is there a reason why you landed on, I guess, the one that you did with the eye patch, messy hair, cigarette?
I like
were you looking
at
other traits at the time?
Punks. Yeah, I like the punky punks. So like I just well, certainly, I mean, she fit kind of my budget at the time, but in terms of the traits, yeah, I kind of like I like the greasy punks, man. I like the eye patches. I like the cigs. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think there's just something about the cigarette that makes it really extra punk, right?
You love the
Um,
cigs too, Maxwell. I like it.
I know, I know. I'm just trying to shield my own bags here.
Yeah,
But I do like the messy hair as well. So I have been sort of eyeing off a few punks with the messy hair. They're really, really
there
cool.
you go. Yeah.
Um, and just out of curiosity, I think you said that you had a bit of a background in the cannabis industry. I was just wondering if the cigarette had anything to do with that at all.
Not so much. I just, in terms of the aesthetics of the crypto punks, I like I say, I like the punky looks, um, and yeah, just kind of like the punks that you see walking down the street. You might grip your wallet a little tighter when you're walking by or something, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Um, cool. And then, so another question for you then, like, what sort of things do you like collecting? And I guess more importantly, why do you collect the things you do?
Yeah, it's always a good question. Um, it's a good question. So for me, when I was a kid, I used to collect base. I wouldn't first. Let me preface this by saying I'm not like a huge collector. When I was a kid, uh, certainly collected baseball cards and hockey cards and comic books. I didn't necessarily read, but I loved the art and the covers. Um, but I'm very like I like things a certain way. I don't know if this ties into it or not, but if you're looking at you know the artwork that hangs on my walls, everything's kind of got a spot. Um, and I would, in a roundabout way, kind of consider those kind of my collectibles, and they stick with me. I would never part with any, say, of the artwork that's on my walls, even if maybe I downsize a little bit. They're kept in storage. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going anywhere. Um, so I wouldn't necessarily call myself, because some people are just true collectors, right?
Mm.
I just tend to buy things that I like, and that appeal to me aesthetically, or maybe not just aesthetically, maybe the story behind them, or how they make me feel when I look at them, stuff like
Mm.
that.
So I'm just looking in one of your wallets now. You've got a few me bits in there. Like, what made you sort of get into me bits?
I love me bits. So me bits, they resonated with me right away, which is kind of fun. I some people love me bits. Some people are kind of in between. I actually, you know what? I don't know how people are kind of in between. I think you either really, really love me bits, or you're kind of like, I don't know, I don't get it, right?
Mm.
I love me bits for a bunch of different reasons. First of all, I think that they're very. Oh man, you almost got me to say a word I wouldn't normally say. I think they're very lovable, Maxwell. I don't use that word very often, but I think that me bits are very lovable, and I really, really appreciate how diverse that collection is, first and foremost. But I think that there's just so much more to them. I mean, I particularly when I grab my first me bit, I mean, I'm looking at these things and I'm going and I'm looking at these garbage PFP collections that are rolling out times 10 every day and just trash. And I'm looking at these and they're just so well made. They're just so well done. You get all these files with them that if you're smart, you can do stuff with, you know what I mean? Like, I think Larva
Mm.
Labs caught a lot of flack from people, and in my opinion, unjustifiably. I mean, they provided everyone with a bunch of different files and stuff, and I think that some people maybe thought, well, you gave us these things, you didn't give us anything. Where are we going to use them? Well, I mean, what I, they're giving you the keys. You can do what you want with them, and there's a lot there. I mean, you're getting so much more. They're just to me, like I'm kind of putting myself back to when they dropped and when I got my first me bet. You're getting so much more, and I mean, they're just so well made. I don't know if that's the best word to use, made, but I mean, it's just, look at the quality. Just even the image itself, I mean, and the image is just scratching the surface of what they are. So I love them. I'm very excited to see if and what. Well, we know it's not an if, but what's coming for those? I think they're just a great collectible. I think they're just outstanding. I don't know. Maybe I'm being super.
I find them a really interesting project, and I sort of wonder sometimes whether or not it's like, CryptoPunks 4 or 5 years ago when nobody was paying attention, and nobody knew that we were going to be using them as our profile pictures on Twitter and Discord, and now using them as our form of identity, a primary form of
Right.
identity. And I think what they've sort of given us, yeah, and you're right, it's a really high quality project. They've given us a whole bunch of tooling, and they've basically sort of said, you guys figure out what you want to do with it. I just think like we're in the middle of building a lot of stuff for them, right? And we just don't know what that looks like. And it might not happen for like another 3 or 4 years. And, it's quietly bullish on them if you're sort of got a long-term horizon. That could be, a pretty high floor price over time. If, Metaverse kicks off and everybody's rocking around in there, I mean, you're going to want a bit of an OG collection right from the beginning. And, I think Matt and John tend to have a bit of a knack of seeing into the future way before everybody else does, right? And so it's going a little bit sideways at the moment. But
yeah, and just kind of on that note, I agree with everything you said, and I think, first of all, Matt and John, wow, and just big brains, like wow. But I am happy to see that Yuga was able to kind of pick up Meebits, and certainly talk about embracing them. And it feels like there's some nice stuff happening, because I did fear that kind of the rest of the space kind of would catch up to what Larva Labs did with them, when they put them out. And so, yeah, either way, I like Meebits, and yeah, I think I also think, I think they're a great even project to show people who aren't involved with NFTs, because they just have a really kind of friendly aesthetic, and I just think they're pretty cool. Anyways, yeah.
definitely we like the Meebs. We definitely like the Meebs.
That was a lot of meme talk, but I like them. Yeah, let's go.
And and do you have your eye on any particular collection at the moment? Are you looking to buy anything in the bear market?
I gotta say, since this is my first kind of downturn in the market, this bear market. So I think for me, I've kind of consolidated into projects and teams that I believe are going to have an impact on kind of shaping the future of the space. It's difficult for me to see that with a new project. I'm not saying that it's not going to come, or with new projects, but I think I've never really been a full degen. I've tried chasing mints. It didn't really work for me. I'm more of, I buy what I like and I just hold it because I like. So as far as kind of new projects, I try to keep my eye on it. But I've been more consolidating, I think, into teams and projects that I just kind of believe are gonna, really kind of, again, help kind of shape where this whole Web3 NFT thing is going. There's projects that I like some aesthetics. I've been catching a lot of these. Maybe you can correct me on the name, but it's like this undead project. It's like those pixelated kind of.
Genuine Undead. They went on a bit of a run last night. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that community goes pretty hard, man. But I don't know how long it's going to last, though. That's the thing.
Right. I like the look.
The pixel art looks pretty cool. Yeah, the pixel art's pretty dope, for sure. And then when you look back at your NFT career to date, what's your best win or best moment that you can think of?
Well, I mean, I think anybody who got in on the apes early, has done them well. I think beyond, financially or anything like that, I think just kind of the biggest win was I guess just kind of, I mean, this is kind of a soft answer, but it's just, for me, the win has just been learning about blockchain and learning about Ethereum. I would have never learned about this stuff. I was not involved with cryptocurrencies. And so for me, just as a whole, being exposed to all of this, and maybe being more incentivized through certain projects that I've held along the way, I'm more compelled to remain close to the space. That's been the biggest win, because it's just been just this huge eye-opening and learning experience that I would have just really never had access to or exposure to had I not kind of stumbled into NFTs.
Absolutely. I think I'm in the same boat. If it wasn't for NFTs, I mean, I wouldn't be collecting art. I wouldn't be reading up on history.
Right.
So it's opened up a brand new world, and I'm not sure if it's been life changing for you, but it definitely has been for me, right? And so
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think definitely a positive thing, and something to be grateful for.
For sure.
And then what about, do you have any sort of worst losses or regrets in NFTs?
Well, circling back, I mean, in hindsight, it would have been nice to kind of jump in on punks a little sooner, but I mean, I don't really look back too much. I think like maybe the biggest lesson that I could kind of take, maybe not losses, but biggest kind of lessons, is just kind of learning about market cycles. I mean, obviously we're in this pretty ugly bear right now. Initially, I think when it started, a lot of guys who've been around for a while, I don't think, I mean, maybe when the UST thing happened, I mean, I think that was pretty clear that things were going to get different for a while. It's learning about market cycles and just kind of psychology, and, obviously, kind of seeing those all-time highs. I would certainly play things differently. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way I played things, but I'm just kind of learning about market cycles and stuff like that, and psychology, and trying to recognize those kind of that euphoric, that euphoria that we've all felt and stuff like that. I don't know that I would ever allow myself to feel that again, to be totally honest with you, right? And I think that's key.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. When you've gone in and degendered so many different projects, I mean, they're all very similar in terms of how they behave, right? Sort of pre-pump, pre-reveal,
right,
post-reveal dump, and always got to teach yourself, like, you got to sell into the pumps, got to take profits, you got to do all those things, and
absolutely.
You see it over and over again. And I think once you've been through a lot of them, definitely teaches you a lot about cycles, liquidity, and how this game's played, right?
Absolutely.
For good or worse. But cool. And then do you have like a favorite punk personality that you tune into and you appreciate, reading up on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of big brains in the punk community. That's one thing that's pretty outstanding. I think that there's so many. I mean, I think maybe some of the personalities, just maybe even off Twitter, that I can appreciate just out of Discord. Like, I don't know, Ross has always been a really cool guy. It was really interesting is MB. Always enjoy kind of swapping messages with him. I think, all the kind of the OG claimers are always pretty fascinating to me. And
MB,
Alan Hanna's a good one. Sorry to cut you off, Max.
Who?
Oh, I was going to say Alan Hanna. He just kind of popped in my mind. I think I got to give a shout out to Alan Hanna, because going back to those times and those Clubhouse app rooms, he was, he was in there, and he just spending his whole day just kind of educating people and stuff like that. So Alan's got a pretty iconic punk too. He's got that purple hat with the clown nose. I'm a really smart dude. So I got to give a shout out to him, actually. So everybody should give him a follow if you're not following him already.
Yeah. Alan's been pretty active too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he is. He's got some pretty good insights as well. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And then, would you have a few words to describe punk culture for you?
Clever. I think that I think a lot of the punks that have been around for a long time, you can learn a lot from, right? A lot of them are crypto native. They just think a little bit differently. They might move a little bit differently. Maybe a little slower than a lot of the people. And when I say slower, when I say move a little slower, like everything tends to move so fast on Twitter with these Twitter spaces and this degen shit and stuff like that. But I really kind of admire a lot of the old school holders that, a lot of these guys, they got a lot of punks or a few punks or one punk or whatever, but they've had them for a long time because they know the value, they see the value, and not just financially, but just what's coming down the road. They have the foresight, I think. So, yeah, I always appreciate the OG claimers and just clever. Just I think the punk community tends to be smart, pretty clever. Yeah,
puts you in that category too, mate. I mean, you bought a punk, so you definitely must be clever.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if I would say it about myself, but thank you.
And if you could pass on a message to the next owner of your punk, what would you like to say to them?
Well, probably wouldn't be very friendly because I don't have any plans to sell that punk. So if there's a new owner of that punk, they probably got it maliciously. So I'm not going to be too happy. But I would, if somehow I was passing it on and maybe getting something new, just appreciate it for what it is. I mean, this is a crypto punk. There's only ever going to be 10,000 crypto punks. You've got one of them. Maybe you have more, but cherish that shit. There's only 10,000. So
cherish that shit. I love it.
Right.
And just maybe going back a little bit too, because I forgot to ask you this question. But what are you working on now, and what are you sort of finding interesting in the space?
Right now, just kind of just trying to keep an eye on things. Right, just watching how people are moving right now, watching what projects are doing, how projects are kind of forming into companies and stuff, and certainly, looking for kind of different areas where I might be able to bring some skill sets. Certainly with graffiti, I think the graffiti community has got a ton of talent starting to come in now. We're starting to see more graffiti writers starting to come in, but it was a little bit of a slow go. So I definitely got my eye on a few different things right now where certainly want to help onboard and just help graffiti writers understand crypto a little bit more and NFTs. There's also there's a little bit of graffiti writers tend to kind of be a little, they're skeptical, and digital stuff kind of goes against the grain a little bit. So I want to just kind of help say, show that this stuff's cool. Like, this is it doesn't have to be. It can be real. You can do it in a real way. Everything can be done the right way. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking to kind of help do more of that and bridge some gaps for sure.
Cool. And importantly, how can people find you and connect with you if they wanted to? Like, what's the best way?
Yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter, All City BAYC. If I'm in a server with you, I'm just All City 0001, and DMs are always open. Give a shout.
Awesome. Well, All City, this was super fun, man, and great getting to have a chat with you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maxwell.
Awesome. Guys, that's a wrap for PunkCast for this week, and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.